You know, the greatest strategic failure in modern business isn't a bad product or a poor marketing plan. It's falling for what I call the history trap. This belief that you have to be around for a decade to be trusted, all while completely ignoring the neurological fact that a customer's brain decides whether to trust you in the first 50 milliseconds of seeing your brand. Think about that for a second. We've all been raised on this idea that trust is earned slowly, right? That it's built brick by brick over years of hard work. But that belief, this history trap, is just fundamentally wrong when it comes to first impressions online. In the digital world, you don't have yours. Heck, you don't even have minutes. The whole battle for trust is won or lost almost instantly. And when I say instantly, I am not exaggerating. 50 milliseconds. That is a 20th of a single second before a potential customer reads a single word on your site, before they can consciously even process what you do. A really ancient, primitive part of their brain has already made a gut decision. It's already sorted you into one of two buckets: a credible solution to explore or a potential threat to avoid. And that, right there, is the huge paradox we are unpacking today.
So to really get a handle on how to engineer that instant trust, here's our game plan. We're going to start by dissecting that 50 millisecond paradox and the modern crisis of anonymity that it creates. Then we'll get into the real meat of it, the 7 trust signals. We'll explore the deep psychology that makes them work so well. I'll show you exactly how to architect your own authority, and we'll wrap up with the most critical mindset shift of all: how you go from being seen as a threat to being seen as pure, undeniable value.
All right, let's dive right in with this foundational idea, the 50 millisecond paradox. And I want to be clear, this isn't some fuzzy marketing theory. This is straight up neurobiology. It's about understanding that initial trust is a heuristic. It's a mental shortcut, not some detailed historical analysis. The brain just doesn't have time to read your company's life story, so it scans for clues instead.
We all want to believe trust is like a slow-cooked meal, earned through years of consistent delivery. And look, for deep, long-lasting relationships with customers, that's absolutely true. But that is not how trust begins. Neurologically, that first flicker of trust is an incredibly fast, almost superficial judgment. Your customers aren't digging through your About Us page from 10 years ago. Their brain is just rapidly scanning for simple, visual cues that scream safe or unsafe.
And here's why that happens. At its core, the human brain is a survival machine. It evolved over thousands and thousands of years to prioritize one thing above absolutely everything else: avoiding danger. So when it sees something new, like your website, its first question isn't, what's the value here? No, it's, is this a threat? This subconscious threat detection system is always on, always scanning for risk. So your first job before you can ever sell your value is to get past that primal defense reflex. You have to signal safety right out of the gate. So this ancient biological wiring creates a very modern problem, especially online. I call it the crisis of anonymity. In this endless sea of digital options, most brands are just anonymous strangers. And what's the brain's default response to a stranger? Suspicion. This all boils down to a fight between what we call signal poverty and signal richness. Signal poverty is the silent killer of so many great businesses. These are the quietly competent brands. You know them. They have a fantastic product, their service is top-notch, but their digital storefront, their website, their social media is just broadcasting these weak, ambiguous signals. And to the brain's threat detection system, a lack of clear, positive signals isn't neutral. It's a massive red flag. It reads as risk. This slide just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the brand suffering from signal poverty. It's the digital version of a suspicious stranger in a back alley. Generic design, vague claims, no real human presence. This just immediately sets off the brain's alarm bells. But then on the right, you have the signal-rich authority. This is a safe haven. It's polished, it's specific, it's validated by others, and it feels human. One feels risky, the other feels like an obvious, safe bet. So if the problem is that our brain defaults to seeing an anonymous brand as a threat because of signal poverty, then the solution is actually pretty straightforward. You have to become overwhelmingly signal-rich. And that brings us to the very heart of this explainer, the 7 trust signals. This is the blueprint, the actionable plan for architecting that feeling of instant, undeniable authority. And here they are, the complete trust signal architecture. Now think of these in 2 main groups. Some of them appeal to that fast, emotional, subconscious part of the brain, things like aesthetic polish and showing the face of the brand. Others appeal to the slower, more logical, analytical part of the brain, like microspecific data. A truly authoritative brand uses all of them. This isn't a buffet where you pick and choose, it's a checklist for systematically shutting down skepticism. Okay, our first signal is purely subconscious. It's aesthetic polish, what I call the competent signal. This is all about high-end, professional, really intentional design. Why? Because it triggers a powerful cognitive bias called the halo effect. The brain makes this lightning-fast assumption. If the outside looks expensive and competent, then the product or service inside must be too. It's a mental shortcut for perceived quality.
Signal 2 is an incredible shortcut called transferred authority, or the guardian signal. Instead of trying to build trust from absolute zero, you borrow it from companies that are already household names. By showing off logos of famous clients, partners, or media that have featured you, you're creating a social guarantee. Their reputation basically acts as a shield for yours, telling the user's brain, hey, these other big trusted names already check this brand out, so you can relax. Let's make this really tangible. A visitor sees you are mentioned in Forbes. Boom! That signals powerful, unbiased validation from a third party. They see you partner with Google. That signals you're compatible with systems they already know and trust. They see an ISO certification. That signals you meet really high, externally verified standards. Every single logo tells a tiny story of credibility.
Signal 3 taps into one of our deepest survival instincts, social proof saturation, the consensus signal. We are hardwired to follow the crowd. It's just safer. If thousands of people are doing something, our brain assumes it's probably a good idea. This is the famous bandwagon effect. And the key word here is saturation. This isn't about having a few testimonials, it's about showing an overwhelming consensus. A number like this is a weapon against uncertainty. 10,000 plus happy customers. What does that immediately say to that primitive threat detector in our brain? It says, the risk has already been taken by others. 10,000 other people took the leap, they survived, and they're happy. It is safe for you to proceed. Sheer volume is like a powerful sedative for a skeptical mind. Now we get to another deeply biological trigger, the face of the brand, the human signal. Our brains literally have entire regions dedicated just to recognizing and interpreting human faces. A professional, warm, confident photo of a founder or the team actually triggers the release of oxytocin, the trust hormone. It's simple biology. We are built to connect with and trust other people way more than we trust some abstract logo. Okay, with Signal 5, we're shifting gears from the subconscious to the conscious. This is micro-specific data, the logic signal. After you've soothed the brain's emotional defenses, you now have to satisfy its analytical side. Vague marketing fluff like "we drive results" is just a huge red flag for untrustworthiness. But specificity, that signals truth. It signals confidence, and it signals transparency. Just look at the difference here. We help businesses grow. I mean, that's meaningless noise. But we increased ROI by 14.3% for 42 clients? That sounds real. The precision makes it feel verifiable. Our customers love us is forgettable. Rated 4.9 out of 5 stars by 2,187 verified buyers, now that is a powerful, undeniable piece of data. Specificity is what turns a weak claim into concrete proof. Signal 6 is all about deactivating a very specific fear, the fear of the transaction itself. These are association badges, the security signal. The second a user has to enter an email or a credit card number, that risk filter in their brain goes on high alert. Security badges are the visual cues that tell the brain it's safe to share your information here. And it's really important to distinguish this from transferred authority. That's about borrowing reputation, whereas these badges are about signaling technical security. We are all conditioned to recognize these symbols, right? That little padlock from an SSL certificate, a Norton or McAfee secure seal, the familiar logos of Visa or PayPal. These things function as instant reassurance. They don't just say, we are a good company, they say, this specific action you are about to take right now is safe. And our final signal is maybe the most powerful one of all, radical transparency, the integrity signal. This is the ultimate display of confidence. When you proactively and publicly share information that your competitors keep hidden, like clear upfront pricing or real-time data dashboards, you send the loudest possible message. We have absolutely nothing to hide. This just short-circuits skepticism before it even has a chance to form. So the crucial takeaway here is the cumulative effect of all this. When you strategically layer these 7 signals into that first impression experience, you systematically disarm the user's skepticism. By the time they even get to your main offer, their threat detection system has been quieted. Trust hasn't been requested at the end of a long sales pitch. It has been architected into the very fabric of the experience from that very first second. So we've covered the what.
Now, let's take a quick dive into the why. Why are these seemingly surface-level signals so incredibly good at hacking our brain's trust circuits? Well, it really all comes down to two powerful psychological principles.
The first one, as we mentioned, is the halo effect. This is the brain's tendency to let one single positive trait cast this glowing halo over everything else. So when a user sees beautiful, high-end design, their brain doesn't just think, oh, nice design. It unconsciously jumps to, this company must also be more effective, more reliable, and have a better product. It's a cognitive shortcut that basically equates good looks with good performance.
The second principle, and this one is maybe even more powerful, is cognitive fluency. You see, our brains are fundamentally lazy. They're wired to conserve energy. Because of this, they love things that are simple and easy to process. High quality, clear signals, a clean design, specific data, logos you recognize, they all create a feeling of mental ease. And the brain interprets that feeling of ease as a sign of safety and trustworthiness. Confusion and complexity, on the other hand, require more mental energy and are therefore interpreted as a risk.
So the mental shortcut is incredibly direct and it happens in a flash. Your brain sees these high-quality, easy-to-process signals. This creates a state of cognitive ease, a feeling of fluency. And that feeling of ease is subconsciously interpreted as trust and safety. That's the hack. You're not trying to convince them with logic. You're making them feel safe through clarity.
Knowing the theory is one thing, but mastery, that comes from disciplined application. So let's translate all this science into a simple 3-step framework you can use to systematically build your own brand's authority. The framework is really straightforward. First, you have to execute a ruthless first impression audit. Second, you apply the signal-to-noise rule to every single claim you make. And third, you strategically implement something called the authority stack. Let's break down exactly what each of those means. So the first impression audit means you look at your website and social profiles with fresh eyes. Is your design clean and professional? Are your photos high quality? If it doesn't immediately scream competence, fix the design first. Next, the signal-to-noise rule. For every major claim you make, you attach one of the 7 signals as proof. Stop saying we're trusted and start showing why. And finally, the authority stack. Take your most powerful signals, those big media logos, your most impressive customer numbers, and put them right at the top of the page, where no one can miss them. You have to win the trust battle above the fold. And how do you know it's actually working? Well, you measure the data. A lower bounce rate is a direct reflection of higher signal density. People feel safe, so they stick around. You'll see the time it takes to turn a lead into a sale just collapse because you've removed all that skepticism up front. And most importantly, your overall conversion rate will go up because you're no longer just asking for trust. You are commanding it from the very first second. This brings us to our conclusion and really the single most important insight of this entire system. It requires a fundamental shift in how we think about marketing, moving away from a mindset of persuasion to one of safety. If you take only one thing away today, please let it be this: trust is a visual language, and your customer's brain is hardwired to be a threat detector long before it ever becomes a value evaluator. You can have the most valuable product on the planet, but if you fail that initial 50-millisecond threat scan, nobody will ever stick around long enough to find that out. You have to signal safety before you can ever demonstrate your worth. And that really leads to this final thought. The best marketing doesn't push people through a funnel with aggressive tactics. It pulls them toward value. And you do this by architecting an environment that is so rich with signals of safety and competence that people feel comfortable and are just naturally drawn in. It has to feel safe from that very first second. So I'll leave you with this one question. Take a look at your own brand right now, but do it through the eyes of a first-time visitor whose ancient brain is just running on autopilot. In that first critical blink of an eye, what are you signaling? Are you an unknown risk that should be avoided? Or are you an obvious safe haven worthy of exploration? Because the answer to that question is going to determine everything that followed.